One of the things that I've learned in the small business world, small, I mean, it could be $30 million, $10 million, or sub $1 million company, because small business is a pretty large group of companies, is that most owners don't really want to sell their business. Might sound shocking, but it's true. Most owners aren't wanting to sell. And there's a handful of reasons for that. The first, in the smaller companies, you see this a lot, is value. They can't get what they want for their company, and so they're not ready to sell, or they don't want to sell because of that. That's not uncommon, especially companies that are doing maybe less than $5 million a year in revenue. They really look at the numbers and go, that's not worth it. I could make that over 2, 3, 4 more years. And of course they could if the company stays successful. So value is a big problem that we see with people who think they want to sell or are approached by someone, a buyer or someone like me, about selling. They determine that, man, this is not worth it. Like, I'm not getting enough for it. It's not that you're getting lowballed. It's just that the market for your company trades at 3, 4, 5x EBITDA or SD or whatever it might be, and that's just 3, 4, 5 more years that you could work and make that, or you could grow it and make more than that. So value is the biggest thing that we see, especially for the smaller of the small businesses, is that they just want to stay because they can keep making the money. Nothing wrong with that. The second is they don't understand how the market actually works. Right? So there's more buyers now than there ever has been in the history of entrepreneurship. With books like Buy Then Build and the Harvard Review and all these conferences and people like me, talking about it. There's plenty of people wanting to buy, but it's not like real estate where it drives up the price crazy like we saw in COVID with the houses. We saw the houses prices shoot up. Business prices don't work the same. They may go up a hair, they may go up some, unless there's something like PE coming in buying up a ton of businesses in a certain industry. They might overpay for them, but generally speaking, an influx of buyers just does not guarantee that your valuation is going to go through the roof. And so they go, well, if you would pay what I want, which is the valuation question, then I would sell when you can't get that. And then 2 is, can you find me a buyer? The reality is finding a buyer for a sellable company, and all companies are theoretically sellable, but if you think about the circle of what people are looking for, there's kind of like the concentric circles, right? There's this tight zone of what people are really looking for, and the further you get out, the harder it is to sell. So in this kind of inner ring or second ring, there's a bunch of owners who have the business that they might want to sell. They go valuation, okay, I'll do that. But then they propose things that kill the deal up front. Well, if you bring me a buyer, I would sell it. Well, okay, let's talk about that. Anytime you go buy a house, a car, a cell phone, shoes, how many of those do you look at? 1, 2, 10, 50 before you go and try one on or visit a home or test drive a car? It's a bunch. It's really a bunch. So to say, if you bring me a buyer, I would sell, presumes that without the knowledge required by the business, that someone can find the right buyer on the right time to go and buy your business. That's just unlikely. It happens. It's possible. We work with buyers to find businesses, but never have we sent someone the first company we come across and they bought that one, right? It's multiple companies that they have to look at. So if you're an owner and you say to someone, if you bring me a buyer, I would sell, okay, it might happen, but it's really, really unlikely. What you really need is a way to bring in a bunch of buyers, just like when you sell your house or you sell your car, so that many people can look at it, and then the right one or ones will put in an offer, and then you determine which one's the best for you, and then they determine if they want to buy your company, just like anything else. But this myth that, oh, if you bring me a buyer, I'll sell it. Okay, well, yeah, I can bring you a buyer, maybe 2 buyers, but is that the right buyers? I don't know. Part of that is tied to the not thinking through of how company sales might work, but also the need for secrecy, right? Owners don't want people knowing that they're going to sell their business. Well, in the M&A world, everyone wants it to be a secret. The buyer wants it to be a secret, because if a buyer thinks it's a great deal, the last thing they want to do is let a competitor, another buyer, know that this company is for sale. Drives up the price, theoretically. Or maybe it's the same price, but you like this buyer better than the other buyer. So secrecy is important, but most times all parties want to keep things secret. The seller, the buyer, the broker, etc. The third reason companies don't sell, they're not willing to spend the money it takes to sell. So they might, again, that ties into point 2, which is if you bring me someone, I'll do it. Okay, cool. But also, you gotta get your books clean. You might have to grow the company some. Remember those circles, right? So you might be on the outside of the concentric circle, which is to say that the company hits certain targets that we know is sellable, but there's problems inside the business that prevent a buyer from likely buying it. So you need to spend money to sell the company. You might need to grow it. You might need to hire out personnel. You might need to get your books cleaned up. You might need to get your taxes up to date, whatever it is. There's a lot of problems that you can see with owners that they haven't resolved because they've thought about selling. They're maybe open to selling, but they really, really, really haven't done what it takes to sell. And that's what we see quite often is really it's a growth thing. Like, the owner is too involved in the business, and so you're trying to tell a buyer that they're going to take over this business and they're going to work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, which is good. There's a lot of good in the new owner doing that. But if that means doing the sales, the operations, and the books, then it's unlikely that the new owner is going to want to do that. So you're better off spending the money to grow the business or to hire out people to run your business or to get your books clean before you decide to sell, so that when you go to market, your valuation's right, and then you have a better chance of selling for what you're looking for. The next thing is they've been burned. Number 4, they've been burned. I hear this often. Well, I talked to someone before, a buyer or a broker, and it didn't work out. Okay, well, that's life. I'm sorry. That's just life. It's tough. It's emotional to sell your business. It's very hard. I bought a business and I sold it, and it was an emotional standpoint. I didn't want to keep running the business, but I didn't like the way some of the negotiations went. Some of it's my fault. Some of it's the buyer's fault. It doesn't matter. It's neither here nor there. It's water under the bridge now. They're doing great, and I'm glad for them. But in that moment, it was tough. It was really tough to see beyond what's going on. And so as owners, we get caught up in all these things. We go, oh, this is the end of the world. This is the biggest thing ever, because you are selling your business. And you don't like it when people don't value your business, or they criticize your business, or they criticize how you've run your business, or they negotiate in a way that you might not find favorable. And then you get a few years removed, you go, you know what? I should have handled that better. I should have handled myself better. I should have done things better. They could have done things better too, but I could have done things better, right? So if you've been burned before when you were going to sell, that doesn't mean that the next time is going to be traumatic or bad or terrible. It just means that you now know what it's like to go through an acquisition process, and sometimes it's not all roses. That's very possible. It happens. The final thing that we see is they wait too long. They're ready to retire. They're wore out. They're tired. The economy's not good. Growth is stalled. They've got kids moving off, and their business is located in Texas, and they want to move to California, and they can't do it because of their business. But the grandbaby's on the way. But they want to be out there today. Well, it takes 6, 9, maybe 12 months to sell your business. And so you wait too long, and all of a sudden the business starts to decline because you went to go to California on these trips, or you want your wife's, want you to travel more. And so the business starts to suffer. And so those numbers that you had 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago that you had a nice average on, they're starting to decline. They're going down. But you want to get the valuation from those things, right? Oh, this business is capable of this, so pay me for this. Well, why is it not doing that right now? Well, that's because I'm traveling. That's because I'm not taking it seriously. That's because of this. Well, that raises red flags to a buyer. Well, if you're not taking the business seriously, then maybe you don't have a good staff in place. Maybe there's other things going on. Maybe the customers are frustrated. How do I know that when I go buy your business that I'm going to be able to keep up what you did 3, 4, 5 years ago? Because that's not the environment today. So you raise doubt. You open yourself to questions. So those 5 things, there's more, but those 5 things. 1, value. 2, don't understand how the market and how it works. And it's not that the owners don't understand, they don't think about it. Because you're thinking about growing your business or operating your business or whatever you're doing. 3, you're not willing to spend the money it takes to grow your business or to get the things in order that you need to sell. 4, you've been burned before and you're like, you know what, I'll never do that again. Like I said, the last business I sold wasn't the greatest sale as far as the process and how it went, but I would sell a business again all day and every day. If I had a business that I thought I wanted to sell, I would sell it. I learned from that. I learned that my emotions dictated too much of how I responded to things. I learned that I need to calm down. I need to take a deep breath. I need to not over leverage my position. I learned a lot through that. And so I'm thankful that the acquisition is done now. I'm thankful I don't own that business anymore. And I'm very excited for the people who do own it. They're doing fantastic, better than I would have done. Good for them. Kudos. They have skills that I didn't have, which is part of the reason you sell a business, so that the next person can take it further than you did. And so I look back now and I'm quite thankful that they are doing what they're doing. The final thing is, wait too long. You wait too long and you're too tired. You don't have the resources. You don't have the time. You don't have the energy, the effort. And so if that's you and you're thinking, I might want to sell, but not today. Okay, you need to start the process today. Whether you're going to sell in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, it doesn't matter. If you think you ever are going to sell your business, then you need to build a sellable business today. If you have no desire and you're happy with making whatever you're making and the business shutting its doors the day that you die, retire, whatever it might be, then cool, don't build a sellable business. Understand though that it's going to be really hard to sell if you change your mind. And so that's the balance, right? Do I want to sell it in the future? Maybe I do. Well, if I want to sell it in the future, I should build it to be sellable today. And if I never want to sell it, A, the business is going to run better. I'm going to have more time, more freedom, make more money. I'm going to have all those things, even if I don't sell it. And if I do decide to sell it, then I put myself in position that when I go, you know what, it's time to sell. I understand how it works. I've got a good valuation. I've not worn myself out to the point where I can't work in the business anymore. I've got all the things that buyers are looking for when they come to buy a business that allows me to sell it for exactly what I think it's worth and what the market says it's worth.